Hey Yankees fans, let's dive into the latest moves and decisions shaping the team this offseason. After landing Cody Bellinger, there was a lot of chatter among fans about what the Yankees would do next, especially regarding the starting rotation. Names like Freddie Peralta and Mackenzie Gore were being tossed around, with the expectation that New York might make a big splash to solidify its pitching staff. But as we saw last night, Peralta ended up being traded to the Mets for Brandon Spurrow and Jet Williams. That's a deal that sparked a lot of discussion, with some fans disappointed that the Yankees couldn't swing a trade with Milwaukee. Here's the thing, while some might think New York lacked the pieces to match the Brewers' asking price, it's not so much about having the assets, it's about whether it's worth giving up top prospects for what would essentially be a one-year rental to get Peralta. The Yankees would have had to part with players equivalent in value to Spurrow and Williams, and even possibly someone like Will Warren or George Lombard Jr. That's a steep cost for a player whose contract is relatively short-term. Personally, I'm okay with the Yankees deciding not to make that move, because the price to acquire Peralta simply didn't make sense for a team thinking long-term now. If Peralta is off the table, the next obvious target some suggested was Mackenzie Gore. But Gore was traded from Washington to the Rangers in a blockbuster that included 5 top prospects: Gavin Feen, Alejandro Vario, Amby Mellick-Ortiz, Devin Fitzgerald, and Jeremy Cabrera. That's a package that the Yankees were never going to match, and it shows just how much it would have cost to bring in a top-tier young left-handed starter. Gore is a talented pitcher, no question, but trading away that level of talent just wasn't realistic for New York. So, what's the alternative? There's been chatter about Joe Ryan. He had a solid season last year with San Diego at age 32. Posting a 287 ERA over 31 starts, with 190 strikeouts across 181 and 2/3 innings pitched. He's effective, and he brings some experience. But taking on his salary at this stage in his career is a factor. Ryan has control over multiple seasons, which could make him an attractive option. But again, you'd have to weigh what you're giving up. A trade for Ryan might not require the same flood of prospects as Peralta or Gore, but there's still a cost to consider. Looking across the league, when you see what the Mets gave up for Peralta or what the Rangers gave up for Gore, it highlights just how difficult it is for the Yankees to acquire a top-flight starter without mortgaging the future. Essentially, the team is faced with the reality that unless they're willing to give up a huge haul, there's no simple solution to improving the rotation. And that brings us to the current roster composition at this point. The Yankees are essentially rolling out a team similar to last season's, which has left some fans uneasy. There are question marks at multiple positions, and while there's potential, there's also uncertainty. Take third base, for example. McMahon is defensively solid, but offensively he hasn't shown the production you'd hope for. At shortstop, Javier offers promise but still carries questions, even when Volpe returns. There's no guarantee the infield will perform at an elite level. Outfield positions are mostly set, with Bellinger in left and Gisham in center, though there's the potential for regression from Gisham if he can't replicate the success he had in the previous season. Then there's the younger talent like Austin Wells and Ben Rice, who showed flashes of brilliance. Rice, in particular, had an outstanding year and could take a significant step forward, potentially impacting the lineup positively. But even with his progress, the Yankees are not dramatically different from last year. Another point to consider is positional flexibility. There are rumors that a player within the organization is learning a new position, which could alter the team's dynamics, while the identity of this player is unknown. The speculation raises questions about how the Yankees are thinking creatively about roster construction. Could it be someone like Dominguez being tried at first base to compensate for Paul Goldschmidt's departure, or perhaps Spencer Jones shifting positions? These adjustments might not seem drastic, but they could provide critical at-bats and defensive coverage, which is essential in shaping a competitive team without making blockbuster trades. Dominguez, for example, struggled in the outfield last season, but offensively he produced a solid .719 OPS, which is right around the league average against right-handed pitching. He was even more effective with a .769 OPS. While his defense raises concerns, his bat still provides value, and experimenting with his position could open up options in the lineup. Bellinger, with his recent signing, might also factor into positional shifts, potentially moving to first base, which could give the Yankees flexibility in arranging other players like Dominguez or Jones in the outfield. Bellinger's contract itself is worth discussing. At $162.5 million over 5 years, with a substantial front-loaded portion in the first 2 seasons, the Yankees clearly signaled how much they valued him. For the first 2 years, he's set to earn $42.5 million per season before any opt-out decisions, which exceeds Aaron Judge's average annual value. This kind of financial commitment reflects both the importance of Bellinger to the team and the strategy behind structuring deals to balance immediate impact with long-term flexibility. Looking ahead, the Yankees are in a position where they have strong pieces, but also significant questions. The starting rotation remains a concern unless a major trade or free agent signing occurs. But the cost of acquiring a top-tier starter is substantial. Meanwhile, the lineup has potential but carries uncertainties in multiple spots. Younger players like Wells and Rice may take the next step, while veterans like Bellinger and McMahon bring stability and production. Adjusting positions and managing contracts wisely will be key to navigating these challenges. And fans are watching closely to see how the Yankees balance ambition with practicality as they enter the upcoming season. Now, when we think about the Yankees roster beyond the big-name signings and trade rumors, the focus shifts to how the young players can step up and make an impact. Austin Wells, for instance, showed flashes of potential. But the key question is whether he can translate that into consistent production at the major league level. If he takes the next step offensively, it could ease some of the pressure off the veterans. Similarly, Ben Rice had a breakout season, and if he continues to develop, he could become a cornerstone for the team's lineup. Both players carry potential, but there's always a risk when relying on younger talent. And that uncertainty is part of what makes this offseason so intriguing. The infield still presents challenges. McMahon at third base is defensively capable, but his offensive numbers leave a lot to be desired. Javier at shortstop has promise, but questions remain about his ability to consistently produce at the plate and handle the defensive demands of a full season, even when Volpe returns. There's no guarantee that the middle infield will provide the kind of stability and production that the Yankees need to compete at the highest level. The team may be relying on these players taking significant steps forward, and that's not always a given in professional baseball. Shifting to the outfield, Cody Bellinger's signing gives the Yankees a clear anchor in left field, bringing both power and experience. Gisham in center field is expected to perform at a high level, but consistency will be key. If he can replicate his prior success, the outfield will be a strength for the team. But if he regresses, it could expose a gap that needs to be addressed either through internal options or additional acquisitions. The speculation around Dominguez or Spencer Jones learning new positions adds another layer of strategy, as the Yankees may be trying to maximize the versatility of their roster without giving up key assets. Positional flexibility could become even more important if the team wants to replace the production of a player like Paul Goldschmidt. There are whispers that Ahmed Rosario could fill in at first base, though he has little experience at that position in the major leagues. Moving Bellinger to first, experimenting with Dominguez in the outfield, or giving Jones more opportunities are all ways the Yankees might balance offensive output while maintaining defensive coverage. These kinds of adjustments require careful planning and coaching, but they could allow the team to maintain competitiveness without pursuing expensive trades. Contracts also play a big role in shaping the roster. Cody Bellinger's deal, in particular, stands out, with $42.5 million per season for the first 2 years before any opt-out decisions. He's making more than Aaron Judge initially. The front-loaded structure gives the Yankees flexibility later in the contract, while providing Bellinger with a significant immediate reward. This approach shows how the team is balancing the desire to add impact players with long-term financial considerations. Bellinger's presence changes the dynamic of the lineup, providing protection for other hitters and potentially impacting how opposing pitchers approach the entire batting order. The question of starting pitching remains, though. Without acquiring a top-tier arm like Freddie Peralta or Mackenzie Gore, the Yankees' rotation may rely heavily on internal options and mid-tier free agent signings. Joe Ryan is a possible target, bringing experience and consistency, but his age and salary considerations factor into whether he's a viable long-term solution. The reality is that unless the Yankees are willing to make a major trade, the rotation will likely not see a dramatic upgrade, which could influence how the team approaches the season strategically. At the same time, the Yankees have the potential to surprise with younger pitchers stepping up. there's always the chance that a player like Wells or a lesser-known prospect could emerge and provide valuable innings. Depth in the pitching staff will be critical, especially when facing the grind of a long season. With high expectations, the Yankees have the pieces to be competitive. But it may require careful management of innings, rotations, and strategic rest to keep the staff performing at a high level throughout the year. Offensively, the Yankees are positioned to remain dangerous. But there are gaps that need attention. Bellinger provides power, and the team still has veterans capable of producing in clutch situations. However, the combination of young players, question marks in the middle infield, and the need for consistent production from Gisham and others means that the lineup may have stretches of uncertainty. Fans will be watching closely to see how the team handles these challenges and whether adjustments during the season can maximize the roster's potential. There's also the larger strategic question of how the Yankees balance their short-term goals. With long-term planning, acquiring a big-name starter often comes at the cost of top prospects, and the organization seems reluctant to mortgage the farm for a one-year rental. This philosophy highlights a focus on sustainable success rather than chasing a single season. Though it may frustrate fans who want immediate upgrades, at the same time, carefully developing young talent while integrating veterans like Bellinger creates a dynamic roster, capable of adapting to challenges and opportunities as the season unfolds. Looking further ahead, flexibility remains a key asset. The Yankees' ability to shift players into new positions, experiment with internal options, and rely on young talent developing into productive roles gives them multiple paths to success. While there may be questions at certain positions and uncertainty about the rotation, the overall roster has depth and versatility. How the coaching staff manages these elements will play a crucial role in determining whether the Yankees can compete at the highest level this season. Finally, the off-season moves demonstrate the Yankees' willingness to think creatively rather than making rash trades. The team seems to be exploring options that preserve talent while adding key pieces like Bellinger. The combination of careful financial planning, positional adjustments, and reliance on emerging prospects reflects a long-term strategy that could pay dividends if executed effectively. Fans may need to be patient, but the potential upside is significant. The Yankees are setting up a roster that, while not dramatically altered from last season, has the tools to compete and adapt, provided young players rise to the occasion and veterans maintain their performance. But before we continue, please remember to join our channel and give this video a like. Your support allows us to keep bringing you the latest news about the New York Yankees. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments. Stephen A. Smith has once again ignited a firestorm in the sports world, this time targeting the New York Yankees manager, Aaron Boone, in a tirade that has fans and analysts buzzing. Known for his unfiltered commentary, Smith did not hold back, calling Boone a puppet and claiming he has no control over anything, going so far as to label the situation an embarrassment for the pinstripes. These explosive remarks have fueled a wave of speculation about the internal dynamics of the Yankees clubhouse and the front office's influence on day-to-day decisions. The timing of Smith's comments is particularly intriguing, given the team's mixed performances in recent weeks. Insiders suggest that Boone has been navigating a fine line between player autonomy and organizational directives, and Smith's public critique could be a reflection of the tension that has long simmered behind closed doors. Fans immediately took to social media, debating whether Boone is truly sidelined in decision-making, or if Smith is exaggerating for dramatic effect. Some former players have chimed in, noting that managing the Yankees is a uniquely challenging task, where media scrutiny, ownership expectations, and player egos collide in a pressure cooker environment. Rumors are now swirling that Boone could be at a crossroads, facing internal questions about his authority within the team. While the Yankees have yet to respond to Smith's comments, whispers in the baseball world hint at discussions behind the scenes regarding managerial strategy and the influence of the front office. Analysts are dissecting every move, from lineup choices to pitching rotations, to determine whether Boone is calling the shots or merely executing orders from above. As the speculation grows, fans are left to wonder whether Smith's outburst is a prophetic critique of a manager under siege or simply another example of his larger-than-life persona stirring controversy. Either way, the narrative is set. Aaron Boone, the man in the dugout, is now at the center of a storm that may redefine perceptions of leadership in the Bronx. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the New York Yankees, please subscribe to our channel and give us a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.